Good morning, everybody. Randy Reed here for Coffee with a Karate Guy. Hey, I'm not even having coffee this morning. I just kept the recorder recording. I was shooting some other stuff yesterday, so we'll just keep going it this way. Some people call it lazy. I call it efficient. Hey, there was a discussion earlier this week with some people online about pricing. And this is an ongoing discussion that's been going around since martial arts have been martial artists. Here's how I look at it. Your price needs to reflect two things. A, the demographics of where you live, and B, how good you are. Okay, those are the two factors. So let's start with where you live. One thing I did a fair amount of research on this. I'm proud of myself. I looked at the successful schools around the country, all over from East Coast to West Coast, and what we're doing here in the Midwest. And I discovered something that if you take the median household income, you can look that up, just plug it into your Google, you're going to get a number. So let's say, I think Madison, Wisconsin, when I looked it up, was $67,000 was the median household income. If you take the zeros off the end, you end up with 67. If you go to parts of Washington, D.C. at that time, it was 121,000. So you scratch that down and you end up with 21. If you take that number and you take it times 1 to 2 times, let's just stick with 1.5. So in Madison, it was 2 times 67 was 134. And I found that the successful schools are somewhere around that 1.5 to 2 for their first program. Now they charge more for black belt team and add-ons that, but for their beginning program. Same thing out in Washington, D.C., in Seattle. I did a lot of research on it, and that number seemed to be kind of true. Where people get in trouble is they hear, somebody made a statement years ago. I've heard two really stupid statements. Number one was, well, a Big Mac costs the same in your town as it does in my town. Well, a Big Mac does, but a house doesn't, right? So there's different income levels. So if there's more discretionary income, higher income, you can push the numbers. They can balance out. So the other dumb thing I heard was somebody say, all karate should be a minimum of $200 a month. Well, that's like saying every car should sell for the price of a Rolls Royce. There's no Rolls Royce dealerships in Dubuque, Iowa. There's plenty of them in Beverly Hills. There's plenty of them in Fort Lauderdale. So you've got to be aware of where you're at. Now, if you take that median household income, that kind of tells you where you're at. Now, how do you figure out if you're going to charge 1.5 or 2 or 2.5? Where are you going to get? That's a starting point. Well, then I ask people, well, how good are you? How good of an instructor are you? How good a school do you run? And every one of them says, I'm great. I haven't heard one yet say I suck. Even the ones that suck don't say I suck. And some of them suck. We all know that. So here's the question, and Roland Osborne's really good at this thing, is what's your retention rate? Or in this case, your attrition rate, your monthly attrition rate. If it's 3% or under, you're right, you are good. If it's 4 or above, 4 or 5, you're on the balance. You start getting up 6, 7, 8, you're like everybody else. At 8, that's 96% a year. You're not growing, you know you're not. And frankly, that's not good. So if somebody says, well, where should I be? And I ask them how good they are, or are you good? Then the answer, I say, well, what's your attrition rate per month? If they say, well, it's 8, well, then you might want to go on the lower end of that 1.5 times your household income and take that number and try to get better. And when you get better, raise your prices. Now, if you're super good, maybe you can do 2.5. Who knows? I mean, there's some, I heard of a guy in, where is it? Coconut Creek or somewhere down around Miami. He was charging $1,100 a month and getting it. He was killing it. He had 50 students. He's doing $500,000 a year. So there's a lot of, it's not cut in stone, but we got to have a start position. Okay. So take your medium household income, take off the zeros, take a look at your attrition rate, and you're going to find out where you're at. If you have any questions, hit them on the comments below. Speaking of below, did you subscribe to this thing and hit that little bell? If you didn't, do it. I'm coming to your house. Second thing I got on my list here. This Friday, there's a link down below, and there'll be a link. I'm going to have a little thing on the when it goes out in the email. Roland Osborne and a gentleman named Mike Moore are going to do a really impressive and informative webinar this Friday. Mike Moore and his wife built their school up to 300 members in 4 years, switched a couple of things around, and in the last year exploded it by 100 members without doing a lot of paid advertising. I can't wait to hear this thing. And anything Roland does is spectacular. You know how that is. So get that link, and I highly suggest you do that. For those of you that are coming to Mexico, I leave a week from Saturday to go down there and make sure the beer's cold, and we're going to have a great time when you get down there. Very good, gang. Randy Reed, over and out for Coffee with a Karate Guy. Where's the button?